Long lived alone in Da Nang, in a small rented room tucked deep inside an alley near the foot of the Thuan Phuoc Bridge. He was 28, worked as a taxi driver by day, and had a strange habit at night, taking his fishing rod to lonely lakes and sitting there for hours. Even if he didn't catch a single fish, people who knew him said he was quiet, had few friends, and rarely smiled. Ever since his mother died of a stroke 2 years ago, he barely had anyone to talk to. Each night, Long would sit silently by the lake, eyes fixed on the water, ears tuned to the rustling wind and chirping insects, as if waiting for something, or perhaps hiding from something else. Sometimes, it was an empty feeling. Sometimes, it was strange dreams that left him sleepless night after night. Tonight, a light rain was falling. Long stood under the eaves waiting for it to ease, fishing rod and bait bag in hand. It had been a while since he visited Tra Lake, partly because he'd been feeling tired lately, and partly because of a nagging unease in his heart. But tonight, for some reason, he felt a pull, as if something was calling him. He zipped up his collar, fastened his backpack, and wheeled out his old bicycle. The early night wind sliced cold across his neck, but he didn't bother zipping up his jacket. Tra Lake lay in an open, deserted area at night, the yellow glow from the streetlights reflected on the pitch-black water. Long parked his bike and walked along the lake's edge to the old kapok tree where he always sat. He dropped down on the grass, baited the hook, and cast the line. A soft plop echoed across the still water. It was so quiet he could hear the insects behind him. Long smacked his lips and muttered, "Wonder if there'll be any fish tonight." A soft girl's voice rose behind him, sending chills down his spine. "Have you been fishing, Long?" Startled, Long whipped around. A girl was standing there. She held a fabric tote bag, her long hair draped over her shoulders. Face lowered, she seemed to have stepped right out of the shadows behind him. Long swallowed hard, eyes locked on her. For a moment, he didn't know whether to speak or run, but he managed to steady his voice. Why are you here this late?" The girl didn't answer right away. Still looking down, her voice was barely a whisper. "I live nearby. I saw you fishing alone and thought I'd ask." Long gave a nervous chuckle, still gripping his fishing rod tightly, his heart skipping a beat. "Yeah, I usually come here to fish at night. Do you ever catch anything?" "Sometimes, depends on luck." The girl gently sat down next to him, keeping a respectful distance, but still enough to make him uneasy. The rain had stopped at some point, leaving only a damp chill in the air. Long glanced at her and noticed her sleeves were slightly wet, her hands pale and unusually small. "What's your name?" Long asked carefully. "I'm NHI. NHI, you live nearby?" "Yes, I used to live around here, but it's been a long time." Her answer made Long pause. "Used to? What do you mean?" She didn't reply. Her eyes remained fixed on the black water. A cold breeze passed by, carrying a musty smell like wet moss. Long suddenly felt a shift in the atmosphere. Something seemed to be moving beneath the surface. His fishing rod suddenly jerked. Long fumbled to pull it back. He shouted, "Got something!" He wrestled with the rod, struggling with what he thought was a fish. But as the line emerged from the water, it wasn't a fish. It was a white dress. A girl's dress, soaked and heavy, floated to the surface. The lace hem was torn, as if it had been dragged along the lakebed for years. Long dropped the rod and stepped back, voice trembling. "What the?" He turned to ask NHI, but she was gone. No sound, no footprints, as if she'd never been there. Long sat frozen, his back cold with dread. He looked at the dress still drifting on the water, then quickly packed up, grabbed his rod, and biked home in a panic. That night, he couldn't sleep. In his head, the girl's voice echoed over and over. "I used to live around here, but it's been a long time." The next morning, Long went to Uncle Tuan's repair shop, his father's close friend and a longtime resident near the lake. As soon as Long walked in, Uncle Tuan joked, "What's with that haunted look on your face?" Long sat down, took a sip of tea, and recounted everything that happened, from meeting the girl named NHI to pulling up the white dress. He spoke slowly, but his face betrayed deep confusion. Uncle Tuan listened silently, then put his teacup down. You said her name was Nhi? Long nodded. Yes, very pale skin, long hair, always looking down, and spoke so softly. Uncle Tuan's tone grew serious. If that's true, I think you saw a ghost. Long swallowed hard, a chill crawling up his spine. What do you mean? About 4 years ago, there was a girl named Nhi who lived around there. She was beautiful, kind, everyone loved her, but she drowned in that lake. They said she went out in the rain to buy medicine for her mom. Slipped, and fell in. Are you sure her name was Nhi? I'm sure. I even kept the funeral donation envelope for her mom. The funeral was huge. Poor girl. Died too young. Long shivered. He remembered her words from the night before. I used to live around here, but it's been a long time. Uncle Tuan sighed. What's eerie is that ever since then, people say she appears before someone drowns. Face hidden, long hair, white dress, sitting silently by the shore. Some say it's a warning. Others say she pulls people down to take her place. Long clenched his fists. Then, that dress? Could be hers. When they pulled her body up, her dress was torn, missing a big chunk at the bottom. But who knows now? That lake, even the dead can't rest. That afternoon, Long decided to return to the lake. He wasn't sure if it was curiosity or something deeper, like Nhi still had something she wanted to say. The Da Nang sky darkened at dusk. The wind picked up. Long sat at the same spot, eyes on the water now rippling gently. A soft thump behind him made him turn. It was the white dress, laid neatly on the ground, dry, as if someone had just placed it there. And across the lake, Nhi appeared again. She stood there, long black hair covering most of her face, her deep eyes glinting in the fading light. Long whispered, Nhi. She didn't answer, but slowly, she raised her hand and pointed toward the lake. Long froze. His hand clenched his shirt. His eyes followed the ghostly pale arm pointing straight down. The wind howled louder. The trees rustled behind him. The water no longer calm, rippled with growing motion beneath. Long stepped toward the edge, voice hoarse. Nhi, what are you trying to tell me? She remained still. Her fragile frame swayed slightly with the wind, but her face was shrouded, as if veiled by mist. He followed her gesture once more. The water seemed normal, but near the edge, a small black object surfaced, then quickly sank. Long rushed over, instinct taking over, rolled up his sleeves and reached in. It was a red thread bracelet with white beads. He froze. It looked exactly like the one Nhi wore that night. Long turned to ask her, but she had vanished again. No sound, no presence, as if she had never appeared. He exhaled sharply, heart hollow. Suddenly, a raspy, cold voice echoed behind him. Don't meddle in the affairs of the dead. Long spun around, nothing but trees. Panicking, he stuffed the bracelet in his pocket and backed away. Just then, something floated up in the lake, a waterlogged photo ID. Long glanced at it, heart pounding. It was Nhi. But in the photo, she wasn't smiling. Her eyes were pitch black, gaze piercing through the wet paper, cold and chilling. That night, back in his room, Long searched the internet for old news about the accident. He read article after article until he found a brief one with a blurry photo. The body of a young girl named Nguyen T. Bich Nhi was found in Lake B. She was a second-year literature student, the only child in her family. Below was a portrait. The girl wore a red thread bracelet. Long bit his lip. So, what he found really did belong to her? And if so, how was it still so new after all these years? At that moment, a knock echoed at the door. Knock, knock? Before Long could react, a voice rang out from outside, clear, cold, and piercing. "An Long, please give me back the bracelet?" Long froze completely. The knocking continued. Knock, knock? He didn't dare breathe heavily. Didn't dare respond. And then, the door creaked open just a little. From the darkness outside, a pale hand slowly reached in. That hand moved in painfully slow. Pale white, like it had been soaked in water for too long. The bony fingers curled inward one by one, as if feeling around for something. Long staggered backward, collapsing to the floor. His trembling hand reached into his shirt pocket. His throat closed up. Unable to speak, he clenched the small object tightly in his palm, then looked up at the door. The door was still only slightly ajar. The dark figure outside made no further sound. Long gathered his courage and edged closer. His hands shook as he carefully placed the bracelet on the threshold. The moment he let go, something snatched it, swift as lightning. Then, silence. No more knocking, no more voice, no more ghostly hand. Long collapsed, drenched in sweat. He forced himself to breathe slowly, wrapping his arms tightly around his body to stop the trembling. Only when his phone showed it was past 1 a.m. did he finally stagger into the room and lock the door tightly. The next morning, it drizzled softly. Long skipped class, claiming to be sick, and stayed shut inside. He sat at his desk, eyes fixed on the window, which looked out over the lake in the distance. Beneath a misty layer, the surface looked calm again, as if nothing had ever happened. But Long knew something was down there, a secret no one dared to mention. His phone buzzed, an unknown number. He hesitated, then answered. "Hello?" A girl's voice came through the line. "Is this Long? I'm Tu, a classmate of Nee's from back then. I heard you've been asking about what happened." Long jumped up, voice urgent. "You know something about Nee's case? Can we meet?" "Yes, but there's something I had to tell you first." She paused. "If you've taken the bracelet, don't throw it away. And don't lose it. It's the only thing keeping NHI on this side." Long fell silent. He swallowed hard, dazed. "But I already gave it back. Last night, I placed it outside the door myself." Tu didn't respond. After a long pause, she finally said something that made Long's spine go cold. "If you returned it, and she still hasn't left, that means the one who took the bracelet wasn't NHI." The call ended. Long sat still, eyes fixed on the door, where the bracelet had vanished the night before. His heart pounded. He could feel it, something was getting closer. That afternoon, Long went to the old boarding house where NHI used to live, not far from the lake. He found the former landlady, an elderly woman in her late 70s. Her vision was poor, but her mind still sharp. When she heard Nee's name, she sighed. "Of course I remember, sweet girl. She lived in the last room down the hall. But every night, she'd mumble to herself in the room. Sometimes even laugh or talk like someone else was with her. The other tenants were terrified." "Did anyone live with her?" "No, but, in her final days, she hung a photo in her room, of a girl who looked exactly like her. But I swear, it wasn't human. The face was twisted, and the eyes were hollow." Long shuddered. The old woman glanced quickly toward the end of the hallway and lowered her voice. "The day she died, I went into the room. The photo was gone, but on the desk, the red bracelet was still there, like it was waiting for someone to come get it." That evening, as Long returned to his room, the sky had just gone dark. He stepped in, hadn't even locked the door yet, when he heard the sound of running water in the bathroom. He lived alone. His body tensed. Slowly, he crept toward the bathroom. The door was slightly ajar. Through the misty steam, Nee's voice echoed faintly, whispering, "And Long, the bracelet isn't enough?" Long pushed the door open, and right in front of him, in the fogged-up mirror, was the face of a girl, with no eyes. He stumbled backward, hitting the wall, sliding down onto the cold tiled floor. His eyes stayed locked on the mirror, where that pale, eyeless face continued staring at him through the mist. He wanted to scream, but something seemed to be choking him. The girl's lips in the mirror moved. "It's not enough. That bracelet only holds the body, not the soul." Then the face slowly tilted to one side, and a crack split from her temple down to her neck, with a sound like dry wood snapping. Long shot up, slammed the bathroom door shut. The loud bang echoed through the room, causing the glass on his desk to rattle. He bent over, gasping for breath, hands gripping the doorknob. Sweat poured down his face. That face wasn't NHI. He knew it, no matter how much it resembled her. The spirit inside was no longer human. That night, Long texted Tu, "What do I have to do to end this? You said the bracelet holds NHI, but clearly The one who's coming back isn't her. Tu replied a few minutes later. There's only one way. Find out who pulled Ni's body from the lake. And why they didn't report it to the police, but hid it instead. Long stared at the message. Heart frozen. He remembered, in the news reports about NHI, they only mentioned finding the body by the shore. No one claimed to have pulled her up. No one ever came forward. Then, a name surfaced in his mind. Uncle Kai, the old security guard at the lake. The one who once told Long. A student drowned here once, right near the bench he liked to sit at. The next morning, Long headed straight to the lake. The sky was overcast, wind howling, but Uncle Kai was still sitting in the guard hut, eyes half closed, smoking. Long went straight in, no small talk. You were the one who found Ni's body, weren't you? Uncle Kai said nothing, just sat there. Long stepped closer. Why didn't you say anything? She was my friend. I need to know what really happened. After a long pause, the old man finally spoke, voice gravelly. I didn't pull her body up, but I saw who did. Who? The man turned, giving Long a strange look. You think humans are the only ones fishing at night? Long's throat clenched. Uncle Kai continued. That night, I was on patrol and saw a girl squatting by the water. Her long hair was dripping wet. She was pulling something out of the lake, wrapping it with red string, and dragging it onto the shore. Was it Ni's body? The old man nodded, eyes clouded with fear. I wanted to get closer, but she suddenly turned her head. Her face, it was ghostly white. No eyes, like her skin was just a mask. She didn't speak, just looked at me, then dragged the body into the woods. Long felt a cold shiver down his spine. He wondered, if that wasn't a human, why did it need the body? And what was the bracelet's role in all this? Uncle Kai lowered his voice. Since that night, every full moon, I hear a girl singing by the lake, sometimes calling out names. Min, Long, Lin, all kinds. But I know she's not looking for me. She's searching for someone who looks like the girl in the photo. Long froze. He remembered the old landlady's words, the distorted photo. A twisted version of NHI herself. Not the older sister, but the twin. Do you remember her face? Uncle Kai sighed, eyes drifting toward the gray lake. I didn't see clearly, but one thing I do remember, she wore the exact same earrings as NHI. Long was stunned. Before NHI died, he had given her a pair of teardrop-shaped blue earrings. She wore them always, as a keepsake. If the eyeless girl wore them too, then it could only be the one who once lived with NHI, grew up beside her, shared her face, her twin sister. Long left the hut, mind spinning. The wind lashed against his face, icy cold, but all he could picture was the girl who looked like NHI, no eyes, wearing the teardrop earrings, dragging the body from the lake. The twin sister? He recalled the one time NHI ever mentioned it. Briefly, I had a twin sister, but she died when we were little. Car accident. Long had just nodded, not asking further. NHI never brought it up again. But if that was true, could it be the girl who died in that accident all those years ago never truly left? That night, Long sat in his room, lit an incense stick, and placed it in a cup of white rice. Beside it, he put a photo of NHI, one from a school trip when they were in high school. He closed his eyes, clasped his hands. If you remember me, if there's something you couldn't say, please come back. I need to know the truth. The flame of the incense suddenly tilted left, flickering. In the still air, the smoke curled into a spiral. Long opened his eyes. A cold breath ran down his spine. Behind him came the sound of quiet breathing. He turned around. No one there. Only the window, slightly ajar. And outside, beyond the row of trees, a shadowy figure stood, watching him. Long immediately bolted from the room, ran straight down to the ground floor. He circled around the back of the boarding house, flashlight in hand. Wherever the beam landed, just fluttering leaves, mossy walls, and scattered trash. But then, he stopped, right beneath the plum tree behind his room. The spot where he often sat to fish late at night, lay a soaked photograph. Face up on the dirt. He bent down to pick it up. It was an old photo. Faded, but still clear enough to make out two little girls sitting close together on a stone bench. Identical faces. One was smiling brightly, holding a teddy bear. The other wasn't smiling, just stared straight at the camera. On the back of the photo, scribbled in pen, "I'm NHI. You're nah. Even if you forget, I never will." Long looked up, scanning around him. No one. Just the sound of wind, and the pungent smell of damp soil. The next morning, Long went to Nhee's old middle school, hoping to find her student records. He presented his documents and asked to search. The admin clerk looked at the name and nodded. "Ah, Nguyen T Nhi, yes. She was enrolled here. There's even a note, she had a twin sister. Nguyen T Na." But, she hesitated. "But what? Na's record, it's been crossed out in red ink. Says, died in 7th grade due to an accident. But there's something strange." "Strange how?" She pulled open a drawer and took out an old student file. On the folder, Na's name was slashed with a red X. But beneath it, someone had written in different handwriting. "Not dead, still alive." Long shivered. The clerk shook her head. Probably just someone fooling around. But every year, someone digs that file out and changes it. Really strange. He thanked her and left. At the school gate, he looked up. On the weathered brick wall, written in fresh charcoal, were the words, "I'm still waiting for one word of apology." Long stood frozen. Clearly, someone, or something, was trying to tell him Nhee's death wasn't random. And maybe the one who needed release wasn't the dead, but the one left behind. That afternoon, Long returned to the boarding house. He sat on a plastic chair by the lake, staring blankly at the still water. One question echoed in his head. Who's holding on? And why? In the distance, a few old men fished in silence. No one spoke. The breeze was light, the water calm, but Long felt a heaviness pressing on his chest. Suddenly, a voice whispered beside him. "You saw the photo, didn't you?" Long whipped around. It was old Ba, the caretaker who had watched over the lake the longest. "Photo?" Long asked, his voice shaking. "Yeah, the one of two little girls who looked exactly alike. One smiling, the other not. I know about it, because I was the one who dug the hole to bury the bike that hit them." Long stood up abruptly. "What did you say?" Ba took a drag from his cigarette, eyes fixed on the lake. "Back then, those two kids were walking home from school, crossing the old wooden bridge. A motorbike came flying by, hit them. The one who didn't smile died on the spot. The other just stood there, didn't say a word." "NHI and Na?" Ba nodded. "I saw everything, but the family didn't report it. They called it an accident, buried her quietly." Long swallowed hard, fists clenched. "But, the body? Was it buried here?" Ba stayed quiet for a moment, then nodded again. "Behind the guard hut, near the banyan tree, with the stone bench. You remember that spot?" Long remembered, vividly. It was the first place he saw the mysterious girl when he first moved in. But why bury her there? The family was poor. They couldn't afford to take her back to their hometown. And back then, the old owner of this place let them bury her temporarily. Who knew he'd go bankrupt years later and sell the land? "You're the first person to bring it up since." Ba flicked the cigarette stub to the ground and stood. "If you want to help her, go to that spot tonight. Burn some incense, and ask her directly." "Ask who?" "Nah, the girl who died unjustly. She's not gone yet." That night, Long brought incense, water, and a bouquet of white flowers. He went to the banyan tree behind the hut. The earth was still, moonlight faintly glowing. He lit the incense and placed it at the tree's base. If you're still here, please show yourself." The incense smoke curled gently. The breeze suddenly stilled. Then footsteps, behind him. "Anne, Long," a girl's voice, soft and clear, but distorted, like echoing from underground. He turned. She stood there, in a white dress, hair covering her face, hollow black eyes. "I'm Na. I've been waiting a long time." Long choked on his breath, trying to stay calm. "What do you want? Is there something you haven't said?" Na raised her face. Blood streamed from her eyes. Voice cold as ice. "I don't hate the one who caused the accident. I hate the one who left me." "Who?" "NHI." Long was stunned. "Didn't your sister cry for you every day?" Na shook her head, blood now dripping from her nose. She turned away. She saw me crying for help and did nothing. She was scared. Then she lied to our parents, said I slipped and fell. Long trembled. The girl's body began to shake. I'm so cold, so lonely. I've been waiting for one word, an apology. But now she's dead. There's no one left. She suddenly raised her head and screamed. If there's no apology, then you have to stay with me. The wind howled. The incense went out. The ground trembled. Long stumbled backward, but Na's freezing hand grabbed his wrist. I won't let you go. Don't leave me. The wind roared. The moon dimmed. The lake in the distance began bubbling with white foam. Long broke free and shouted, "Nhi, if you can hear me, say the words you owe." Right at that moment, a sudden gust of wind swept through, howling sharply. A fragile voice drifted through the air. "Na, I'm sorry." The voice echoed into the earth. Na stood still. Her eyes widened. A single tear slid down her eerie, ghostly face. "I miss you." Na said nothing. Her hands slowly lowered. Her body began to fade like smoke, and then vanished with the wind. All that remained was the cold scent of incense and the damp earth soaked with dew. Long collapsed to the ground, gasping for air. That night, he finally understood. Some spirits don't search for revenge. They only seek a promise that was never fulfilled. And sometimes, it's the living who must speak on behalf of the dead to settle a final debt. 1 week after that night, Long packed his things and left the lakeside boarding house. He took one last look at the water, where haunting memories lingered, and where a chilling, sorrowful story had played out. Old Ba was already waiting under the banyan tree, a cup of coffee in hand. Heading out? Yeah, I think it's time I left. Right, the girls are gone now. No point in staying. Long smiled faintly. Do you think they've truly moved on? Ba didn't answer immediately. After a pause, he said quietly, "All I know is, since that night, no one's seen the girl in white by the lake again. No more foul smell. No more dead fish floating." Long looked toward the lake, where morning light sparkled on the first ripples of the day. That's enough. Then, he turned to leave. His backpack was light, yet his steps were slow, as if something unnamed still lingered in his heart. 1 month later, Long returned to Da Nang. This time, not to run from anything, but to finish something left undone. He sought out a small pagoda tucked deep in an alleyway, once frequented by Nhi and Na's family during the Ghost Festival. The head monk welcomed him, an old man, slight in frame, but with eyes brighter than anyone Long had ever met. "You wish to perform a ritual for the two sisters?" the monk asked. "Yes, I think, if they still linger, they deserve a place to rest and incense to guide them. You've seen them, haven't you?" Long nodded. No need to explain more. The moment the monk nodded back, Long knew he understood everything. A quiet ceremony was held that overcast afternoon. No music, no crowd, just a small altar with 2 framed photos, one of a smiling girl. One knot. Long knelt, lit the incense, and clasped his hands. "If the 2 of you are still out there, you can go now. Nothing's holding you back anymore." The incense smoke rose, thin and soft as silk. A breeze passed gently through. Long caught the scent of something delicate, sweet like lang lang, and a faint, cold draft brushed the back of his neck. But he didn't turn around, because he knew, if that was them, then they were smiling now. That evening, Long returned to the old fishing lake. The water was calm. The banyan tree still cast its shade. He sat on the stone bench, not to fish this time, just to sit. For a long, quiet while, a fish swam near the surface, then suddenly leapt, as if waving goodbye. Long laughed. "Yeah, I know." That night, he wrote a short post and shared it on a travel forum. There's a little boarding house by a quiet fishing lake that not many people know about. It has cool breezes, clear waters, and stories no one can quite explain. But I don't think it's a scary place. Just a place where people forgot how to say, "I'm sorry." If you ever visit, be sure to ask the person beside you, is there something you've never said out loud? Because maybe, that's the only thing someone needs to finally find peace. The fishing lake is still there. Only now, since the day long left, no one has seen the girl in the white dress by the water ever again. The story is